paracetamol is also available in a cosmetic shop also. You can get, and in a grocery shop also you can get. That's where the problem happens, because these smaller drugs can be overused, overdosed, and particularly in children, it comes in syrup. The amount of milligram per teaspoonful or per 5 ml differs from brand to brand. So you may give 1 teaspoonful or you may give 2 teaspoonful, the dosage becomes very, very high. So that's where many of the things went wrong. And also financial constraints, difficulty in travel, okay, and we are all
Dr. Anita,
busy
I'm
with
just trying
our
to
life,
understand. You're
makes us
saying
go.
that the paracetamol level changes between brands. I mean, you're saying is that the case? Like between brands also
No,
there is
no, no. No, not in brand. See, one paracetamol comes, it may be 100 milligram per ml. It will be
okay,
written outside, but you
okay.
need to read it. One will be 125 milligram per ml. One can be 200. They are all prescribed by the government in properly. But the patient takes it in a wrong way, because he will not know that there is a difference in the amount of, like we have a paracetamol 250 tablets, we have 500 milligram tablet, we have 650 milligram tablet. So he will just come and say he needs paracetamol, but what dosage he needs, we will not be knowing anything about these dosage. So that is a subtle difference which will happen. We have seen many patients taking little extra dose, thinking 1 tablet, but the amount of milligram of the drug inside this tablet is, they are not available.
So
And
just
okay, yes, I agree with you, the rules and regulation has to be, but I think in foreign countries, some drugs like paracetamol are not within the guidelines. They are sold in many of the I can say groceries, shops, cold medicines are sold. But yes, other medicines are not. But this is 2, 3 drugs needs to be very strictly monitored. We learn from the bad mistake. And there was a previous experience in Tamil Nadu also around 2 to 3 months. If you see the Times news, it happened in one of the pediatric hospitals. Same, the drug was paracetamol. So yes, it
But
puts
see,
us into a
over
guard,
here
even smaller drugs.
in Shivaganga, the PIL that we are talking about, it was an auxiliary
Mm,
nurse that had
mm,
given the dosage. She said 3
mm,
ml
mm,
for
mm,
every 6 hours. Is there something wrong with that
mm,
dosage?
mm. Yeah, the dosage again, 6 hourly or 8 hourly or twice hourly will also depend upon how many milligrams you are giving, how many teaspoonsful you are giving. Suppose your dosage is 500. I'm talking about any normal average individual.
And this
500
child,
BD.
this baby was
Okay.
around, I think she was
It's
born in
okay.
April. So,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was just few months old when
Small
this,
child.
yeah, it's a small child. So
Yeah.
it was just a few months old
Yeah,
when it
small
was
child
given.
in the pediatric. Yeah, pediatric dosage against differs with the body weight. Basically we don't do the BSA, we do with the body weight for the child. And also many of them, the child may be at home and not brought to hospital, body weight not checked. This is one area. And also I told you the composition of the drug per ml will differ from one paracetamol to the other paracetamol. So you can't just give paracetamol 5 ml or 100 ml. And if the small baby, the ml is in drops and in mls, and sometimes it is very, very difficult to calculate that drops and ml to give to the, so highly chance of getting an overdose happens when you do something. So these all needs to be standardized. Yes, paracetamol drugs should not be sold just like that without a prescription, brought under the purview of the doctor. Even like how you said, a dispensary, a primary health center can also take care of this. Call the patient, call the mother, consult the doctor, and then give the prescription. We have to be very, very careful as far as drugs are concerned.
But Dr. Lal, let me bring you also into this debate. When we talk about paracetamol, I mean, it's one of the most easily available, medicine that is there across any chemist. And as Dr. Anita was saying, also with the grocery stores, everybody is able to sell it like that. But is it too much of use of paracetamol that we see in India? Because liver failure has been connected with it. I mean, there are some statistics that I'll just pull out from the graphics that we have. Some of the statistics say that, out of the 10 children that we have, 2 of them do face paracetamol poisoning at some point. And because it's about the liver, some of them, 90% of them also recover from it. But still, the paracetamol poisoning happens. Where does it go wrong? Is it the dosage part that goes wrong? And is it something, especially when it comes to children, should we entrust it to the mother or father to administer this drug? So how much of that is also a cause of concern? Administering the paracetamol. I think, Doctor, you're on mute. Can you unmute
Sorry,
your...
sorry. One of the safest drug we are having today is a paracetamol. Normally, we do not have much problem with the paracetamol. Even the counter sales, because the quantity of the drug which the person can take is always comparatively less only. She was telling about the Western countries also, it is available the counter sales, but there is a restriction. In UK, you cannot get more than 16 drugs in the non-pharmaceutical stores without the prescription. And in even a pharmacy, you can't get more than 32 drugs, but it is differ from country to country. But India, we can get more. But how the complication comes with the paracetamol are mainly due to the associated disorders the patient is having. Especially the child who has a septic focus, who has a septicemia, or when the liver, where the paracetamol has to be get metabolized, is not functioning properly. Either he has some congenital problem with the liver, or malnutrition, not taking a good food, or in adult with an alcoholism, people who have a chronic alcoholism, along with that they take a paracetamol, they enter into the problem. That is why the prescription after examining a patient, his comorbid associated situation should be studied, and if the prescription is given, it is safer. Now, if you see comparatively, we have aspirin. It's another alternative for paracetamol. It is more toxic, non-steroidal analgesic. That is again a more toxic drug. But safest is paracetamol. Yes, it is a rampant use is there, especially after the COVID. And everybody started taking paracetamol more dose in the 650 milligram dose. Previously, we used to give only 500 milligram dose. Now, mainly the people are taking 650 milligram dose. So, but cumulative toxicity, when you are taking continuously for more, definitely there is a possibility for the people to get a complication. So, two things to be avoided. When you have a liver problem, when you have a starvation, when you are an alcoholic, please don't take paracetamol. And if you take paracetamol, do not exceed the dose beyond our cumulative dose of taking for a continuously for every day you are taking a large dose. It is again a complicated one. Otherwise, per se, it is a safer drug. Even in this case, 3 ml, the maximum dose, go with the 3 ml of paracetamol suspension is non-lethal or non-complicated dose. But there is one syndrome we call Ray's syndrome, which can be idiosyncrasy, which can induce in the liver, which is even when you are giving a right dose, the complication can take place. That is due to the metabolic defect in the patient having. But overall, what we in general, not with the paracetamol, in general, we will say only the prescription-based medical distribution or dispensation is the needed for this country at this hour.
So how do you say that should be brought into place?
Yeah, one more thing I wanted to point out
Yes,
in your
Doc.
last question. Can I just?
Yes, go ahead.
So you said is the parents also? Yes, I would also say there is a lot of responsibility on the parents' side. As you know, high temperature predisposes to childhood convulsions, fits. So parents are also quite afraid that they don't get into those fits, and they sometimes give overdoses. Instead of giving four doses, 6 doses, they go up to 7 doses in a hurry, in a panic, and that's also inverted. Instead of giving 1 teaspoon, they may give 2 teaspoonsful, thinking the fever will come down faster. So there is also a parental mismanagement in the dosage, in panic. We can't blame them because the child's fever needs to come down, might have taken place in many of the cases, and might be one of the contributory which we cannot leave out from the discussion at this point of time. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to.
Well, I'm just getting my colleague as well. Pankaj, you're a parent also, and do you think parental behavior is also responsible for overdosage when it comes to paracetamol or any other over-the-counter drugs? Because you tend to panic, and instead of, I think, directly consult the doctor before saying that, okay, doctor, I've given, the fever has not yet come. Instead of taking that advice, you immediately tend to think that this will bring it down immediately.
Well, yes, at the cost of, the fear that my wife would also be watching this broadcast. But yes, this does happen when we tend to overshoot the dosage limit, or more importantly, the frequency of the prescribed dose that happens. In that scenario also, once again, as a concerned parent, I'm sure all parents are concerned as far as their kids are concerned, the understanding of the gravity of situation at that particular point is also very important. If the fever is refusing to die down and we keep giving doses of paracetamol or dolo to the kids, hour after hour, that is also not going to work. So at that particular moment, what proper steps should be taken, that I'm sure must be kept in mind. Otherwise, things like these would happen. Secondly, when it comes to medical side of things, Varghese, obviously for parents, for new mothers, new parents, obviously there are so many options available apart from the internet and apart from telemedicine. Let me reiterate here, for consultation, for getting proper advice on even prescribing or giving a drug as basic as a dolo or paracetamol. Yes, there are moments, there are situations when you can't actually move with the kid, so you tend to increase the dose, but that doesn't happen, especially with the kids. I don't think so. Should be done, and it doesn't cut the ice as well.
Doesn't cut the ice. Let me, in fact, go to Dr. Anita as well. We've spoken about parents. We have. What is that the government should do right now? Should we completely do away with this over-the-counter medicines because it has that danger, and let someone take that accountability of prescribing it, and only with that should the chemists go ahead and sell it, because there is rampant abuse. It's not about these common paracetamol or an analgesic. We are talking about even antibiotics. There's a huge abuse. The doctor would have prescribed it for a sickness some 6 months ago. The person might have the same symptoms, but we don't know what is the underlying causes, but goes with the same prescription, says these are the medicines, and he can easily get hold of it. I remember, I think Norflox TZ is one of the most abused antibiotic we have ever seen, because it's easily available and people tend to use it quite often. Could you throw some light on it?
Yes, another drug which is abused is alprazolam for sleeping. Many people take it across the counter and is sold. Okay, just coming back to a couple of points which is needed. One more thing, I just went through on the net and saw, if you see in US, the strength of paracetamol syrup is 160 milligram per ml. Only one strength is available all over the country. But in India, we have 4 strength. I have already alluded: 125 milligram per ml, 250 milligram, 500 milligram, 750 milligram. So different syrups have different concentration of paracetamol. So yes, can we have 1 or maybe 2 strengths available, which will prevent the mistakes from happening? Yes, some medicines can be sold across the counter, because India being a developing country, accessibility, finance, so many issues come in line. Okay, some drugs can be allowed, but it should be a restricted medicine, only maybe 2 tablets or 3 tablets without a prescription, not all the drugs. And remaining drugs, if you want, needs a doctor's prescription, or the pharmacist should write down, please meet the doctor if you want to increase the dose or something like that. And some drugs can be specified. And another important point I also want to say, there is and the government, just a couple of months back, banned 10 to 20 drugs with fixed combinations. And one of the important ingredients in this was paracetamol, codeine, paracetamol, all the antihistamines. So these fixed combinations are also quite dangerous. You may take for some, and the other drug also causes toxicity. So to completely abolish these fixed things, have fixed dosage all over the country. Yes, maybe 1 strip can be sold across the counter, subsequent strip needs doctor's prescription. Even if also there are facilities at some of the pharmacies to have the doctor available. Now, if you see all over the countries, they have a doctor sitting next to the pharmacy. We can talk to the doctor, get in touch, a little more patient care from medical point of view, pharmacy point of view, and doctor point of view, how we link each other and help each other so that we don't get into trouble.
But as you said, there are different strengths. Now, this is only for paracetamol you're talking about. There are other medicines also that have different strengths.
Other drugs. Yeah,
so that means it is highly dependent upon the doctor's, prescription on the dosage.
Prescription.
So that means
I have a very small child who needs 125 milligram per ml. I have a 5 or 6, might need 250. I have a 9-year-old who needs 450 or 500. I have a 14 is still pediatrics, where I can give 650 to 750. So that's why the dosage is different, because we can't tell him take the syrup 5 times, 6 times. So in India, there are 4 strengths of paracetamol available, whereas in US, I told you 160. Okay, you have to take multiple spoons to get the thing. So yes, that the common people will not know. That the pharmacist may know and the medical profession will know, but the father may not know. He may give a different strength. He may just rush and buy a syrup, paracetamol syrup, and give half spoon or 1 spoon or 2 spoon. So those are multiple points for discussion, how we can go wrong, how the liver can be damaged, how can we can lose a child, and how mistakes and error, these are called medical errors, which inadvertently happens when maybe multiple points to it. And our point at this program is to see how we can cut down and give a checkpoint. It's good it brought for discussion with paracetamol. It can be with other drugs which can be more life-threatening. So we have guidelines, because I'm actively in this profession with drugs and pharmacy, but we need to make it a little more stronger.
How do you think we can make it stronger, Dr. Anita? How do you think that we can make it a little bit stronger to ensure that such things don't happen? Because I don't think so. A lot of people know about such things, because as you rightly pointed out, if there is some kind of problem that they face, they immediately go to the chemist and just order it on the counter. So how can we actually control this?
Yeah, one is that chemist in association with a doctor. Okay, usually chemist shop will have doctor doing a chamber there. They can themselves pack and they can write it themselves. Restricted sale over the counter without prescription and without the registration number of the doctor. Point number 3, the pharmacist also should sign with his or her license at the end. Many of the pharmacy bills are not signed by the pharmacist. We have been insisting them, and who has made the mistake we'll come to know. So once the pharmacist signature is brought into, then they'll be also cautious to sell extra drug. So stops at several points, and father and mother has to be told, just I'm giving you 1 bottle, please rush to the hospital. Don't waste time. This is just for you to take the drug, meet the nearest. The child might be all right, but meet the doctor before the next dose. So those type of orientation, meet the doctor, because this is just to tide over the night or 1 dose, 2 dose. It helps you to reach the hospital.
In fact, we have Dr. Lal also joining us back. Dr. Lal, Dr. Anita was actually speaking about that we have existing guidelines, but still we need to do more when it comes to the over-the-counter drugs. What do you think that we have to do? Should we stop altogether when it comes to over-the-counter drugs? Is it something that we should probably look at? Even for a paracetamol, let's have a prescription.
No, it is not possible in a country like India, where it is such a vast rural areas there. Paracetamol is relatively a safer drug. It is now the 16 drugs now added as the OTC, over-the-counter the drug sales are there. The 2 things which can be implemented, the quantity which we are going to supply from a counter sales. At a time, how much dose the patient can get, whether it is 5 drugs or 6 drugs or the 10 drugs, or he can get in a bulk, and the bulk purchase should be counter sales. It is only a limited prescription has to be given. And secondly, there must be always a possibility and awareness should be created among the people. Though the paracetamol is safer, but when you have additional problems, and you should look into that. The third thing is that we don't have a mechanism to check these counter sales drugs. If you see a district, there will be 1 drug inspector, 1 personnel, or 2-3 people are only for the entire district to monitor the entire drug store. But thousands of pharmacy stores are available. And there must be an adequate manpower in the drug empowerment or drug enforcement directorate, where the more and more people are there to monitor these sales. All these sales should be done in a computerized system where the online monitoring can be done. The third possibility, more than the worst thing which is happening with the counter sales, is an online pharmacy. When the online pharmacy you are getting, especially not only the madam was talking about a parent, now even you are seeing in an adult, because the dose which you are taking, 500 milligram, it takes nearly 2 hours for you to get it absorbed. But when you are taking an additional drug within another 1 hour, another half an hour, the headache is not over, fever is not subsiding. In the over anxiety, especially the people who are working in the computer field, people who are working in a heavy work like that, they take a drug continuously. And if you are taking another drug within 2 to 3 hours, there is an additional possibility it is going to have a cumulative dose. Though you say, I have taken only a 500 milligram tablet, the tablet which you have taken earlier is also there, which is going to get accumulated. So the dose is going to be a greater, higher dose. So online pharmacy should be also restricted very well. More monitoring should be there, awareness should be created, and then definitely we will be able to overcome this disease. But at least the government should ensure the counter sales drug should be restricted to certain wide when the interval drug should be there. Antibiotic and other drugs should not be there in the counter sales.